Who is the nicest celebrity you have met? Colin Firth. I saw him sitting in a cafe with his son. Extremely nice. I waited until they got up to leave before I went and asked if I could get an autograph for my mum, who's a huge fan. He asked me a few questions about her and wrote a quite nice autograph for her. He asked if I wanted one as well and I told him that meeting him was more than enough. I had told him where she worked and he went in the next day and made a point to stop and chat with her. Truly a class act. Literally love Colin Firth and this warms my heart. I worked at a Barnes & Noble in high school. LL Cool J lived right next to it and would come in almost daily. He knew most of our names. Really nice guy. He visited my best friend's nephew on the burn unit when nephew was 8. Nephew nearly died. Had second and third degree burns over 80% of his body. LL Cool J visited and kept in touch for a while after. Not my style of music at all, but I will always be a fan of the person he is. LL Cool J was the balm he needed. LL Cooling Gel. Weird Al. I've met him twice and both times when he looked me in the eyes it felt like he was hugging my soul. Met him at a film screening a few years ago. I've been a fan of his since I was 8 and he's legitimately an influence in my own music, comedy. I saw him when I sat down which happened to be right in front of him. I heard him introduce himself to some older ladies who had sat next to him. Just very genuine like hi, I'm Al. I turned around and said hello. Said I had just seen a show at the Greek and said it was great, and said this is a great moment of my life and he cracked a joke and said something like well I guess your life hasn't been that awesome. Or something like that. We took a selfie and shook hands and it was awesome. I checked John Mulaney into a hotel room once. He wanted to pay for someone else's room so he was at my desk for like 5 minutes while I set that up. He's a genuinely nice guy. I rang him up at Best Buy once and he wouldn't stop raving about the rewards card. Jesus Christ. You'll never get that Best Buy rewards card. Mr. Rogers. Absolutely as kind and gentle and lovely as he seemed on TV. I was lucky enough to spend 6 hours sitting next to the man on an airplane. I was 7. Highlight of my life. We ate lunch. I spilled on him. I thought I had ruined everything, but he just smiled and gave me his dessert. Being from the UK until I got on Reddit I never had any idea who Mr. Rogers was, but everything I read and see just makes him seem like the nicest guy you could ever wish to meet and a national treasure. We ended up with Jimmy fricking Savile, Peter Dinklage is a lot of fun. Really cool guy. His laugh is incredibly infectious. When I met him, he seemed a bit overwhelmed by the enthusiasm around him, but he was still great. He wanted to take silly pictures with me and I was like, holy shit Tyrion wants to take pictures with me. Great dude. He and I had a funny encounter. We were both at a coffee shop in the Bowery at like 6:30 am. We were the only ones there. He'd ordered a fancy drink of some sort so had to stand there and wait. I ordered a filter, but it was a long process pour over type thing. So he and I were stood there next to each other for 3-4 minutes. It was awkward, because I don't really talk to celebrities, public figures. But at the same time it was weird, because it was just the two of us and it was obvious I knew who he was. In the end I gave him the chin nod. He winked and gave me the chin nod. That cleared the air and we were able to get on with our day. Really the only answer is the chin nod at that time of day. I used to see famous people in NYC when I lived there in my 20s. I made a point to use the chin nod all the time. I would never, ever say a word to them. That's until I saw Sean Penn piss on a fire hydrant and I had to yell out, nice dong. At least I think it was him. The group I was in seemed to agree. Having met Hugh Laurie in person, I can confidently state that he is one of the nicest and most humble celebrities out there. Not only is he completely happy to interact with his fans, but he also does so in a way that makes each and every one of them feel like they're a friend. He remembers names and personal details with amazing accuracy, and he makes each conversation seem like it's an extension of a treasured and ongoing dialogue. Add to that the fact that the man is outwardly hilarious, and you've got a recipe for a genuinely great guy. He was phenomenal in House MD. Love that guy. Dave Chappelle and his family live a few miles from where I went to college. and he and I frequented the same Starbucks. I ran into him about 10 times. One day he sat with me for about 45 minutes and talked about screenwriting. It was amazing. He's as down to earth as his stage persona suggests, and it's no wonder he opted to raise his family away from LA. Given that at the height of his fame, he took time out, I can totally see that. Anyone who would halt the lure of fame and money to take back their equilibrium and look after the well-being of themselves and their family sounds like good people to me. Yeah, people talked about him turning down $50 million, as if he was penniless. He was already rich. Good for him. Mine is Dave Chappelle too. I was in a college group that brought in speakers and performers, so we brought him in. After his act we thought he left, so we started eating all the trays of food in his waiting room. He poked his head in and joked that we were hotboxing the room. Then he came and sat with us for an hour. He sat next to me, and when I told him it was my friend's birthday and this friend was a big fan, he took my phone and called this friend and talked to him. It was amazing. This was 2005, I think right before he took a big break from everything. I didn't actually meet him, but Tracy Morgan bought my younger sister an iPhone many years ago. Hers broke, and his GF, now wife, at the time lost her phone at the Super Bowl or something, so that's why he was at the same Verizon store. The Verizon employee said my sister's damage wasn't covered under insurance and my mum couldn't afford to buy her a new phone, and my sister I guess clearly got emotional, because Tracy Morgan, who had been talking to my mum for a bit before while they were waiting, my mum and sister had no idea who he was until my dad came in and recognized him, bought the phone for her. My mum tried to say no, but he said to just pay it forward. What a dude. Tom Hanks. I worked at Disneyland in the late 90s and I saw him giving a tour to a group of about 25 kids. He was leading the tour and the Disney tour guide was just tagging along, so I could tell he'd done this many times before. List of celebrities nobody hates: Keanu Reeves, Tom Hanks, Terry Crews, Robin Williams, Danny freaking DeVito. Lenny Kravitz was one of the most humble people I've met. Incredibly down to earth, laid back and friendly. Prince Charles was also pretty friendly. Would look you directly in the eye during conversation and make you feel like there was no one else in the world but the two of you, despite being constantly surrounded by others. Danny DeVito. I ended up at a hotel bar in Philly with this girl I was hanging out with and her friend. Turns out the cast of Always Sunny was filming the 10th-ish season and staying at the hotel and hanging out downstairs. So girl's friend flags down Danny as he's walking by and he ends up sitting with us for a solid 2 hours. Buys us a couple rounds and tries to invite the girl up to his hotel room. A weird turn, but he also introduced us to Charlie Day, so I'm calling it a win. Tries to invite the girl up to his hotel room. Shooters shoot. Perhaps she thought she couldn't handle his monster dong with his magnum condom. Stanley. He was my neighbor for a while, and he directly wrote me letters which I now have framed on my wall. Tom Brady wasn't great. Steven Tyler was really cool, chill, but Stanley was the best by far. My aunt met Steven Tyler and said he was super chill. Except she had no idea who he was, and he was just some guy who bought a lot of the musical instruments she was selling at a charity event. She posted a video of the two of them singing together on Facebook, and made a comment about how she was happy that this nice musician was making enough money to live off of. I had her go look up Aerosmith videos and she was shocked it was the same guy. This is the cutest thing I've read about in a while. I imagine it was really nice for Steven Tyler to have just a normal conversation with another musician. This story is my favorite. Adam Sandler. He is super nice. We met him at my aunt's lake house. Such a sweet guy. He brought his family over and we hung out with him for like 3 hours and we just chilled. He is an amazing dude. I kind of got that impression from his Brooklyn 99 cameo, which is a little ironic, because he acts like a rude, stuck-up celebrity in the cameo. But it showed that he was willing to make fun of himself. Pretty funny scene too, when Andy fires back at him asking who Kevin James plays. LOL. Haw haw. It's a serious movie. Trotsky. Scarlett Johansson back in 2011 at a Starbucks. Super sweet and really bubbly. Thought she would come across as a bitch or standoffish, partly because it was early in the morning, like 5:36 am. Not at all, she was so nice. Made her laugh after I told her I was a huge fan of one of her earliest films, Home Alone 3, which really is one of my favorite childhood movies. She just had this charming aura about her. I cooked for her when she was filming The Avengers in Cleveland. I didn't get to talk to her, but based on the creeping we did from the kitchen, she was bubbly and insisted on paying the check. My at the time chef also told me I was cooking her dinner, which resulted in extra creeping on our part as the plates left the kitchen. If she looked over, she would have seen 8 cooks in an open kitchen watching her take her first bite. This is like Ratatouille. Scarlett O'Towil. I met her in 2008. She is also super short. I met Santa at the mall. A very nice old man. He even let me sit on his lap. And he was very interested in whether I'd been naughty. The only celebrity I've ever met is Bill Murray. He made a joke I didn't get at the time and gave me wrong directions to the Asia exhibit inside the Dallas Museum of Art. 10 out of 10 would ask Bill Murray for directions again. I walked by Anderson Cooper once in the West Village and went, "Oh shit, Anderson Cooper," as I walked past. He turned his head back towards me and smiled and winked. I'm now gay. The best ending this comment could have had. Hugh Jackman. The man is Australia's answer to Keanu.